Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Got in a rifle sling to take a look at. This is coming from CVLIFE and it is very budget friendly. So stick around if you want to learn about it. We'll go over all the details of the sling, talk about why you'd even want to use a sling in the first place, show you guys how to mount it, and then give some thoughts on it. So this sling is coming from Amazon. It just arrived in an Amazon box like this. I do not care for how this tape is around this because I'm going to have to cut it and I'm going to have to be careful as to not get into the actual sling. I would prefer if this been like in a bag or something. Alright, got that tape off. I'm going to get the sling out of this little bag and then we'll go over the details. Alright, so here is the sling. It is supposed to be genuine leather, but I don't know if it's cowhide or what exactly. It doesn't specify on the Amazon listing. You can see it is fairly thick. It's going to have adjustable length. In its shortest position, it is 33 inches long. In the longest position, it is around 39 inches long. We're looking at a width right about an inch, and then a thickness of 0.16. It did include these sling swivels, and they are metal and they are removable. You just pull these little adjustments out and this would just slide off. It's going to have this leather keeper on it so that like if we adjust the length, we can then bring this up and kind of keep the leather somewhat tight and pinched together. Grab you guys a quick weight. We're looking at 4.8 ounces. So because this was folded up for however long, you know, it has kind of taken the shape of those folds, but the leather should kind of stretch out and soften kind of with use. It is very, very flexible. Usually brand new leather is kind of stiff, but this is very pliable. So why would someone want to use a rifle sling in the first place? Well, it obviously allows you to carry your gun either cross-body or just over a single shoulder. And that means that you can be hands-free. And you might need to be hands-free maybe because you have to fight with your hands. Maybe you're trying to provide medical aid to somebody who's injured or even to yourself. Maybe it's for something that you have to do some climbing, either up a ladder or over a fence or something like that. Maybe it's simply because you have to carry something, but you know, it allows you to be hands-free. Another thing a sling does is it improves your accuracy. Imagine using a bipod or some sandbags or something like that to kind of steady the rifle. This is what this does. You know, it kind of gives you another point of contact between like the rifle and your body. So it's not just your hand around the grip and the trigger, and it's not just the buttstock up against your shoulder or your hand down on the forend. It gives you another spot around your shoulder and neck to kind of steady that rifle. I'm going to be showing some rifles here. They are completely safe. There's no ammo in them or anywhere around. And just so YouTube knows, adding a sling to a rifle does not modify the rifle in any way. Doesn't make it do anything other than what it was originally manufactured to do. So this sling is considered a 2-point sling. These swivels are going to mount to 2 different areas on our rifle. They also make single point slings. Typically they're going to go right in through here, and it's just the sling is going to come around and come back and attach to the same spot basically twice. The way that mine's going to set up is I'm probably going to like attach here and then somewhere down here. They also make 3-point slings, and that would attach here, usually somewhere up in here, and then again down here. 3-point slings, it's a lot of material, and it's a lot of stuff that can kind of get in the way of your hands. And for me, I just don't like running 3-point. A single point, They're not bad, but it does make the gun kind of hang kind of straight down, which a lot of people don't like that either. So I think most people will probably prefer a 2-point sling. So to attach these is pretty simple. Right now it's kind of like in a locked position. So you have to unscrew this. And then from here you just push, and then this will rotate. Okay. And then we're just going to find where the swivel will go. You're going to push in through that hole, and then basically push again and rotate until that's in that position, and then basically lock that back. And now that end is attached. If you are a right-handed shooter, this usually is going to go on the left side of your rifle. And we're going to do the same exact thing for this front one. So let's say that I got this on and it's just way too long, the rifle's hanging too low. Well, the way we're going to adjust that is you just kind of lift up on this little ring here and then turn it. It does have a spot that you could use a screwdriver, but technically you don't need to. And these are almost like barrel posts, where like the bolt is kind of going to go into the head over here, and then you just pull this up. We push this spot out. So once you have your hardware out, you can then decide, like this was kind of like one of the longer lengths. You can basically just pull this down to wherever you want to go to. Those are probably, I don't know, at least full inches, maybe 1.5 inch increments there. But you can go all the way down to here and make that significantly shorter then. And then kind of with this big like loop excess, just slide that keeper back up over top of all of this. And then as it pulls tight through here, that'll kind of cinch that back down. And again, as we reattach it and things like soften up, that would lay pretty flat. Real quick thing to tell you guys, whether it's when you're installing your sling or when you're using it, don't ever have your sling come over the top of your buttstock like this or on the back side like this here, because that will definitely affect your cheek weld and your shoulder weld. So I was recently at the gun range, and it gave me an opportunity to use this sling to kind of carry my rifle around for a bit and then try to do some shooting. And I'll say that it for sure helps take the kind of weight of the rifle off, especially if you're going to like be going long distances. But for me personally, it did not aid in my shooting at all, and I'll kind of get into that here in a bit. But let me first get into some of the pros, and then I'll kind of get into some of the cons and say why this didn't help me with my shooting. So I will say I do like that they are using genuine leather. Again, I don't know what kind it is, but you can smell it and tell that it is leather. I do like that it has adjustable length on it. I like that they're using these metal sling swivels and that they are removable. All right, a couple of cons. The first thing I'll say is that this is fairly narrow across here. I think it was, what, 1 inch or so. The rifle I had at the range that day probably weighs somewhere between 7 to 8 pounds. There's no shoulder pads, or, you know, it's not wide. And I will say that it does kind of like dig into you after a little while. It almost starts getting uncomfortable. So if you were trekking across fields or through woods and stuff, you might have to be like switching shoulders or adjusting it regularly, or maybe even putting like a cloth or something around this or something, just to kind of provide a little bit of cushion. The other thing is that even though it's toolless to adjust it, it's not quick. Like if you want to adjust the length of it, it does take some time to like unscrew this, move things around, kind of get the things lined back up, where a lot of your other like nylon slings, you can just literally just pull it and it adjusts, and there's like a tensioner, and it's super quick and easy. Like you can do it right on the fly. So this does take a long time. And then here's why it didn't really help me with shooting. This was not long enough for me. I have it in the very longest length. I'm about 6'2" and probably 225. I wear a 2X shirt. I could not get this to go across body on me. I could only put it over my right shoulder. And in doing that, when I would bring the shoulder or the rifle up, it didn't provide any additional support. It was almost like I didn't even use the sling. So for me, it was only for carrying it that it was beneficial. If you're smaller, this may be crossbody for you. I think something like this would be really good. Like if you have some type of like a vintage rifle or something, or like an old Western rifle, maybe something from military, or if you're into like cosplay or reenactment type stuff, this would be really good for something like that. So these are available on Amazon, and apparently YouTube doesn't like it when you say the prices of stuff like this. So you can see the price there. I will leave a link for it down in the video description in case you guys want to find out more information on it or pick one up. But alright guys, if you found the video helpful or informative in any way, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And that's going to be it on this one. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.